Welcome into the Browns Halftime Live.
What the hell was that?
A horrible start.
What is Kevin's? Explain this to me. I'm trying to figure this out. What happened? They trot Hopkins out at the end of the first half to attempt, what was it, a 59-yarder?
It was going to be a 60-yarder.
Okay, 60-yarder, whatever. It's Dustin Hopkins, the best kicker in the league. He's made a 58-yarder, if you remember, against San Francisco. Plenty of room to spare. And he decides instead to send P.J. Walker out to throw a Hail Mary at the end of the – what's the logic of that?
Perhaps it is not – and it's Dustin Hopkins, so I don't know that there is a lot of logic there. Perhaps it's not trying to knock him off his game when he is the only reason you have points on the board right now. 3 field goals from Dustin Hopkins.
That would be stupid.
It would be because you're not going to break Dustin Hopkins. He's confident in himself. Even if he misses it, it's a 60-yarder. He gave it a go. His career long is 58, and that's a stretch for him, and he did it. So maybe that's where you're going. But again, you want to get more points on the board, and P.J. Walker throwing up that Hail Mary is not the plan. That's not.
I'll say this. When you're kicking a long field goal, you have to drive it low, okay? So Stefanski's probably saying drives it low. There's a chance this gets blocked, maybe returned, or they block it and recover it, and they're in field goal range with 1 second left, whatever. That is a hell of a stretch. And if that's the case, then take a knee on the ball, because that Walker Hail Mary should have been picked and should have had a ton of room to run. I mean, that could have ended up just as poorly. Can we talk about, let's see, Robert or Michael? Which one of these is
Michael first, because it's more appropriate. Robert, we get what you mean.
That was something. The only thing I can say about Deshaun Watson's performance in the first half is that it happened.
It happened.
That's all I can say.
His career worst quarter.
Awful.
That first quarter. And it hasn't been – I don't know what's 6 for 20, 79 yards, an interception. The interception was the pick six on the second play of the game. What?
Which is, by the way, exactly what happened
week 2
on D-Day in Pittsburgh, the worst game that I've ever seen in my life. Nick Chubb. And people are trying to tell me on Twitter that that's not Deshaun Watson's fault. I get it's an incredible defensive play. I get it. It's an incredible defensive play. You could also not throw directly into the oncoming safety blitzer. You could not do that.
An unblocked, wide open.
He's been absolutely terrible.
That's a bad decision. It is. It's a bad
decision. 3 best plays, and I know that there's only 6 completions, so we're, the pool is not huge. His 3 best plays is when he gets to the end of his drop, gets rid of the football. Mm-hmm. And they're 5-6 yards down the field. It allows their receivers to run, right? The one that set them up for that last field goal got rid of the football quickly. It just seems like every time he drops back, and I know the Browns are playing with a piecemeal offensive line. I get it. It looks like he's pressured on every play. He looks confused 98% of the time he drops back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And people are going to say, oh, you know what? He's practiced sparingly, or he played last week after not playing for 4 weeks. And it just so happens this guy played for the Browns, and it's not the reason I'm bringing it up. Josh Dobbs rolled into Minnesota last week, led to victory. He's had 1 week of practice with this team. He's 18 of 22 for like 240 and 2 touchdowns at halftime. Yep. It can be done. Don't give me this. He hasn't had a lot of time. No. I know timing matters. I know that the chemistry with receivers matters. If you're an elite quarterback, which this guy is supposed to be, you should be able to overcome some things. And we have not seen any of that. And to Leroy's point here, or Leroy, still in the game. Oh, there goes that's how fired up I am.
I'm so upset.
To Leroy, it's inexplicably they're 8 points behind the Ravens here. And had they, who knows, made that field goal, then you're 5 points behind them. They didn't kick it, whatever. But
they are in the game.
You're 1 score away somehow.
Because even though the defense is not playing what they need to do, even though the defense is not playing the way that the brand of defense that they want, it was the Cardinals, but holding the Cardinals to 58 yards. It's unheard of. That's insanity. They're not playing that kind of defense, but they are still playing strong defense, and they're having They're making big plays. Mike Ford's interception gave the Browns another shot on offense right there before that half. That's a big time play. The blocked field goal by Jordan Elliott, that is a big time play returned by Anthony Walker. They are putting the offense in positions in which they can still remain in this game. The offense is just not doing what they anything. There's nothing going on. The shining point is the run game.
And this is what we talked about on the Browns Countdown this morning is what does the path to success look like for the Browns to win the game? They had to get turnovers. And so far they've gotten 2. They've prevented the 3 points from getting on the board on that block. And defensively, they've held a very good Ravens team to just 10 points. Now, like we have seen, right, in Indianapolis, like we saw in Seattle, early on in games, this defense has struggled. Baltimore went right down the field and scored, then went right down the field again and kicked a field goal, and all of a sudden it's 17-3 in the blink of an eye. And then now the defense has settled down. So what we need to see in the third quarter is like we saw in the third quarter in Indianapolis, and then continue to see that into the fourth quarter. But you're right, offensively, this Browns team looks lost.
And you know what, Al, right here, there is a little confusion from that offensive line. There's a lot of mix-up right now. DeJuan Jones is out. Jedrick Wills is out. This is the first week of this restructured, reformatted offensive line while they're dealing with injuries. But the blocking has been solid. There's been moments, of course, but the blocking has been solid, and the run game has been able to be as solid as it can be with another, again, you're dealing with an injured running back room, but Jerome Ford has held things down, and he's done pretty well. And
what do the Browns have rushing team total?
98 total rushing yards.
That's pretty damn good. You're down to your fourth tackle.
Mm-hmm.
You're down to your fourth tackle. That's pretty damn good. And I think, again, it's deceptive that it looks like the offensive line, they've been beat a few times, but it looks like the offensive line is not performing all that well because Deshaun Watson is not getting rid of the football. We said that this morning. With this offensive line, you have to get rid of the football. And maybe part of that is Watson clearly is not reading this defense well and is not operating this offense well. And we can spend an hour and a half talking about why that may be. All I know is they made adjustments offensively in Seattle. With P.J. Walker, they got rid of the football. They threw some screen. Have we seen a screen pass today?
That's their strength. That is what they were really honing on. That's something that they took pride in, something that they knew that they could do. And I don't know what it is, why they've shifted away from it. If it's the Ravens defense, the looks they're giving them that make them feel like they can't. But they do need to go to it. And Michael Gamble wants to talk about coaching, and you can all day. There's obviously.
Yeah. And Leroy said the same thing, play calling, not playing to our strengths. It's a perfect example in this game, right? When the Ravens, I always go back to this, when the Ravens drafted Lamar Jackson, they threw everything out. And Harbaugh said, we're going to play to the strengths of the guy we just drafted at quarterback, okay? Kevin Stefanski can scheme guys open. That is no question. And you and I can argue about this. We know he can scheme guys open as good as anybody in the NFL. What good is it if your quarterback can't find him?
And that's what I keep going back to. Everyone that is on the fire Stefanski train and looking for the next best thing.
I'm not there.
No, you're not there, but other people are. And here's the thing. Where do you go from there? How can you be on that train? What do you think happens? What do you cater your offense to if Deshaun Watson can't perform? It comes down to consistent execution from Deshaun. It really does. And like you said earlier, I think the excuses have run out. He has had plenty of time. He needs to start stacking games where he looks like he knows what he's doing, that he's comfortable, that he's back. He had the opportunity to build on that. He seemed to find a groove against arguably the worst team in football last week, but that's a stepping stone. That's that roadblock that you get over. So you're prepared for this game. So you come into this AFC North matchup and you know it's a game that you need to win because you already lost to him once. And you think that might be what he needs to build himself up. And he's 6 for 20 with 79 yards and an interception.
So bad. It's so bad. And I get why this is a difficult ask today. You have a offensive line that's put together with popsicle sticks and chewing gum. I get it. Receivers have been there. They've been open. And he has thrown some bad balls. That ball that he threw to Cooper, that back shoulder he was attempting there near the end of the first half, that was 8 yards out of bounds. And even the analyst, who I don't even know who it is today, Solomon Wilcots maybe, is like, that's just a really bad throw. That's just a really bad throw. And this is a guy who came in and had been accurate early in his career. I mean, that's what made him so dangerous in Houston. And, man, we haven't seen that at all, save for some deep balls. And, yes, he threw some incredible deep balls last week against Arizona. This is a guy who looks confused. Damn, there it goes again. He looks confused. He looks lost. And he doesn't look all that confident. And Hanford Dixon was saying this morning, it looked like he got his swagger back a little bit last week. I agree. It did look like that last week. That swagger's gone. That swagger is – he left it here in Cleveland because it's not there in Baltimore.
All right, well, what do you want to see in this second half?
More Dustin Hopkins field goals. I tweeted after the second one, I said they're only 4 field goals away from taking a lead in this game. They're only 3 away now, so they got a chance. Got to have more turnovers. Defense is going to have to score.
Defense is going to have to score.
Get close. Damn it, Camryn. Got to get in the end zone. You got to get in the end zone. But the defense is going to have to score.
I want some kind of consistency with Deshaun Watson. I don't need him to pinpoint accuracy passes, but give me something other than confusion and chaos out there.
It might not be Deshaun Watson because we're doing this as the game is going, breaking all the rules right now. This is streaming live.
Unbelievable.
FCC's calling. Who knows if Watson's going to play? Oh, we'll see.
PJ Walker season.
The PJ Walker show, another comeback.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining the Browns Halftime Live. Ravens up 17-9.